There will always be moments that test you. A sharp word from someone you love, a driver who cuts you off in traffic, a friend who disappoints you, a life event that flips your world upside down. Your heart pounds, your breath quickens, and before you even realize it, you've reacted. But what if you didn't? What if you could remain calm, no matter what chaos unfolds around you? What if peace became your superpower? That's what this audiobook is about. The power of not reacting, how to stay calm and control emotions, is not about suppressing feelings or pretending to be unbothered. It's about mastery, understanding your emotions so deeply that they no longer control you. Throughout these 10 chapters, we'll explore how to pause before reacting, how to train your emotional brain, how to build resilience, and ultimately, how to live a life of unshakable calm. You'll learn how emotions are formed, why they can hijack your decisions, and how to rewire your mind for peace. You'll hear stories of people who turned pain into power and found stillness in the middle of life's biggest storms.
This is not theory, it's practice. It's about breathing before you speak, observing before you act, choosing clarity over chaos. Because the greatest strength you'll ever develop is the ability to remain calm when everything around you is not.
So take a deep breath and prepare to reclaim your peace. This is your journey, not to escape emotion, but to master it. Let's begin. Chapter 1: Understanding the Emotional Brain. Before we can master our emotions, we must understand them. Why do we get angry so fast? Why does one careless comment ruin our whole day, even when we know it shouldn't? It's because your brain, the most powerful machine in the world, was built for survival, not serenity. Thousands of years ago, when our ancestors roamed the wild, the brain had one job: keep you alive. If something rustled in the bushes, the brain had to decide: fight, run, or freeze. That old system still lives in us today. It's called the amygdala, your emotional alarm system. The amygdala, the fast reactor. The amygdala sits deep in the brain, small as an almond, but it runs the show when you feel fear, anger, or threat. When someone cuts you off in traffic or criticizes your work, the amygdala fires instantly. It doesn't stop to analyze or discuss, it just says, danger, attack, defend. Neuroscientists at MIT discovered that the amygdala can respond to a perceived threat in as little as 12 milliseconds. That's faster than you can blink. So before your logical brain, the prefrontal cortex, even gets a chance to join the conversation, your emotions are already shouting through the microphone.
It's like your brain throws a party and your emotions show up 10 minutes early before logic has time to get dressed. That's why we react first and think later.
The prefrontal cortex, the wise mind. Now, meet the other part of your mind, the prefrontal cortex. It's your voice of reason, your planner, your problem solver, your calm decision maker. This region is located right behind your forehead and is responsible for judgment, impulse control, and long-term planning. When you pause, breathe, and think before reacting, that's the prefrontal cortex taking charge.
Imagine the amygdala as a wild horse and the prefrontal cortex as the rider. Without the rider, the horse bolts. But with guidance, that same power can be directed, calm, focused, unstoppable.
That's what emotional mastery really is. Not suppressing your feelings, but guiding them. Why we still react like cavemen. Let's go back in time for a second. Picture a caveman. Let's call him Taro. He's hunting in the wild. Suddenly, a shadow moves in the bushes. Taro's amygdala fires instantly. Tiger! His heart pounds, muscles tighten, adrenaline floods his system. That reaction saves his life. Fast forward to today. You're sitting at your desk, and your boss sends you a harsh email. Your amygdala fires the same way. Your body reacts as if you're in mortal danger, heart racing, breath shallow, muscles tense.
But there's no tiger, just text on a screen. Your body doesn't know the difference. Research from Harvard Medical School shows that the human brain can't fully distinguish between physical danger and emotional threat. It triggers the same stress response. That's why emotional control is not a luxury, it's a survival upgrade.
The 90-second rule. Here's something fascinating. Emotions themselves don't last forever. According to brain researcher Dr. Jill Bolte-Taylor, an emotional reaction, that surge of chemicals flooding your body, lasts only 90 seconds. After that, if the emotion continues, it's because we're replaying the story in our mind. We keep fueling the flame with thoughts like, "He shouldn't have said that. I can't believe this happened."
But if you can ride out those first 90 seconds, just breathe, stay still, and let the wave pass, the emotion fades naturally. You don't have to suppress it, you just have to outlast it. From reaction to response. Let's make this practical. Imagine this. You're in traffic. Someone cuts in front of you and nearly causes an accident. Your first impulse? Shout, honk, maybe curse. But what if you could pause? Take one deep breath and instead say to yourself, "It's okay. Maybe they're in a hurry. I'm safe." That one moment, that pause, gives your prefrontal cortex time to activate. You shift from reaction to response. At UC Berkeley, researchers found that when people consciously delayed reacting to anger for just 6 seconds, their heart rate dropped by 15% faster. 6 seconds of silence can save 6 hours of regret.
There's a term psychologists use: amygdala hijack. It's when your emotions completely take over logic. Like when you explode in anger and later say, "I don't know what came over me." That's an emotional hijack. In 1995, psychologist Daniel Goleman popularized this concept in his book, Emotional Intelligence. He described how an airline pilot once froze during turbulence because his emotional brain hijacked his rational mind. Training later helped him overcome that pattern.
The same happens to all of us. In arguments, in stress, in fear. But awareness breaks the pattern. When you know what's happening inside your brain, you can stop it in its tracks.
The calm mind as a skill. Think of emotional control like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. Every time you pause instead of react, you're rewiring your brain, literally changing its structure. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reshape itself through repetition. Studies at the University of Wisconsin found that daily mindfulness practice thickens the prefrontal cortex and reduces amygdala activity. In simple words, you grow the calm part and shrink the reactive part. That means anyone can learn this skill, even if you've been a hot-tempered all your life.
Practical reflection, a simple exercise. Let's try a small exercise, right here, right now. Close your eyes if you can. Take a deep breath in and slowly breathe out. Now, recall a moment recently when you overreacted. Maybe anger, frustration, or stress. See it in your mind like a movie scene. Pause it. Now imagine rewinding and replaying that moment, but this time you take a breath before responding. You watch yourself staying calm, speaking slowly, staying centered.
That image isn't fantasy. It's training. You're rehearsing the calm version of yourself your brain can learn to prefer. Every time you do this, you're strengthening your inner peace circuit.
Chapter 2. The pause that changes everything. Between what happens to us and how we respond, there is a single, invisible space, a pause. And inside that pause lives our power. It's so small we often miss it. Someone insults us, we snap back. A driver cuts us off, we explode. A text arrives, we panic. Reaction feels automatic, but it isn't destiny. Viktor Frankl once wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." That space, that pause, is where peace begins.
Why the pause feels impossible. When something triggers you, your nervous system floods with chemicals. Adrenaline surges, heart rate jumps. Your body prepares for battle, even if the enemy is just a frustrating email. At the University of California, San Francisco, scientists discovered that it takes roughly 6 seconds for the body's stress hormones to spike after a trigger. Those 6 seconds are crucial because that's your window to pause before emotion takes full control. Most of us never catch it. We live on emotional autopilot, reacting, regretting, repeating. But once you learn to spot that 6-second window, life changes. A story of 2 moments. Let me tell you a story. Sarah, a teacher, once shared how she used to lose her temper every morning with her teenage son. He'd ignore her reminders, scroll his phone, and miss the bus. One morning, she felt the anger rising again, the same old frustration. But this time, she remembered the pause.
She inhaled slowly. She didn't yell. She just watched him for a moment. Messy hair, sleepy eyes, and realized he's not doing this to hurt me. He's just a kid learning responsibility. She said softly, "All right, I'll let you handle it today." He ran late, missed the bus, and had to walk. But that walk changed him more than 1,000 angry words ever could. That's the power of the pause. It transforms control into connection.
The science of the pause.
Neuroscientists at Harvard found that a single deep breath activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's natural brake pedal. This slows the heart, relaxes the muscles, and re-engages the prefrontal cortex, your logical center. In other words, the pause isn't passive, it's biological power. When you breathe slowly, you send a signal to your brain that says, "I'm safe." And when the brain feels safe, wisdom wakes up. Training the pause. Here's a truth most people don't realize. Calmness isn't a talent, it's a trained response. In one study at the University of Wisconsin, soldiers trained in mindfulness meditation showed greater emotional control during combat simulations than those who didn't. Not because they felt less fear, but because they recognized the pause before reacting. You can train the same way. Here's how. Step 1. Notice the trigger. The faster you recognize that rising tension, the easier it is to pause. Step 2. Breathe. Take one deep breath through the nose, out through the mouth. That breath is your bridge between impulse and intention. Step 3. Label the emotion. Say to yourself, "I'm feeling angry," or "I'm feeling anxious." Labeling pulls the emotion from chaos into consciousness. Step 4, choose your next action deliberately. Ask, what response would make me proud later? That's it. 4 seconds of awareness can save you hours of regret. When the pause feels like weakness. Some people think staying calm means you're weak, that not reacting means letting others win. But pause isn't weakness, it's strategy. It's emotional aikido, using the momentum of emotion without being consumed by it. In a 2018 corporate study, managers who practiced short mindfulness pauses before responding to criticism were rated as 40% more effective in leadership and communication. Calmness isn't about surrender, it's about staying in control when others lose theirs. When you don't react, people notice. They lean in. They trust your composure. You become the still point in a spinning world. Building emotional space. Let's try a simple practice, one you can use anytime. Whenever you feel triggered, say silently in your mind, pause, breathe, observe. Those 3 words are your anchor. Research from Stanford University shows that naming an intentional pause before reacting can reduce impulsive behavior by up to 30%. So next time you feel that heat rising in your chest, the urge to lash out or defend, whisper those words. Pause, breathe, observe. You'll feel the moment stretch. You'll sense time slowing down, just enough for peace to slip in. Real-world example. The pilot's calm. In 2009, when pilot Chesley "Sully" Sullenberger lost both engines on his plane over New York City, he had seconds to act. Hundreds of lives depended on his next move. While everyone around him panicked, Sully took one steady breath, assessed the situation, and calmly landed the aircraft on the Hudson River. No lives lost. Later, he said, "In that moment, my training took over. Breathe, assess, act." That was the pause.
Not panic, not paralysis, but presence.
We may not face plane crashes, but we face emotional turbulence every day. The principle is the same. Breathe, assess, act.
The hidden gift of silence. When you pause, you create silence, and silence has power. In silence, the mind resets, emotions cool, truths rise to the surface. A Finnish study found that just 2 minutes of complete silence lowers blood pressure more effectively than relaxing music. So the next time someone says something hurtful or tension fills the air, don't rush to fill the silence. Let it breathe. Let the pause speak for you. Because in that quiet moment, others will feel your calm, and it might remind them of their own.
Practical reflection exercise. Let's practice. Think back to a moment when you reacted too fast. Maybe today, maybe last week. Replay it in your mind, but slower. See the event happening in front of you, the words, the faces, the emotion. Now insert the pause. See yourself taking one slow breath. Watch how the energy shifts. Maybe you say less. Maybe you say nothing. Notice how peace enters that scene. That's your emotional power right there, in the silence between impulse and intention.
Hold that feeling. Remember it. That's your pause. Closing message. The pause is your gateway to freedom. It's where reaction becomes reflection and chaos becomes clarity. Most people move through life chained to impulse, dragged by every emotion. But you're learning to step back, to breathe, to choose. As the poet Rumi once said, raise your words, not your voice. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder. Your pause is your rain, gentle, intentional, life-giving. So the next time someone challenges your calm, smile inwardly and say to yourself, here comes my chance to practice the pause. Breathe in, breathe out, and let peace lead the way. Chapter 3. The Biology of Calm. Calm isn't luck. It's not something you either have or don't have. It's biology, a living rhythm inside your body that you can learn to play like an instrument. You see, your body and your mind are in constant conversation. Every thought you think sends chemical messages through your bloodstream. When you're stressed, those messages scream. When you're calm, they sing. Let's explore the science of that calm, not as theory, but as something real, tangible, living within you right now. The chemistry of stress. Every time you get angry, anxious, or overwhelmed, your body releases 2 key hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. According to research from Harvard Medical School, adrenaline spikes within seconds of stress, increasing your heart rate and sharpening your senses. Cortisol follows a few minutes later, flooding your system to keep you alert and ready for danger. It's perfect if you're running from a tiger, but not if you're reading a frustrating text message. Our ancestors needed those hormones to survive. We just need them to survive rush hour. The problem is we never shut them off. Our stress response gets stuck in the on position. Long-term stress literally changes your body. It weakens your immune system, fogs your memory, and even shrinks parts of your brain that control learning and focus. A 2018 Stanford study found that chronic stress can shrink the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for emotional balance and memory. In short,
Reacting all the time doesn't just exhaust your emotions, it rewires your biology toward chaos.
The calm response, your inner reset button. But there's good news. The body also has a built-in antidote to stress, the parasympathetic nervous system. Think of it as your internal rest and restore mode. When it activates, your breathing slows, your blood pressure drops, and your muscles release their tension. At Johns Hopkins University, researchers discovered that even 2 minutes of deep breathing activates this calming system, reducing cortisol levels by up to 20%. That means every calm moment you create, every deep breath, every pause, every act of letting go, physically changes your body chemistry. You're not just calming your mind, you're healing your body.
The breath is your bridge between the conscious and subconscious, between the mind and the body. When you breathe fast and shallow, your body believes you're in danger. When you breathe slow and deep, your body believes you're safe. At UCLA, researchers found that slow breathing at 6 breaths per minute can increase heart rate variability, a key indicator of emotional resilience.
So, in moments of tension, instead of saying, calm down, try this. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 2, exhale for 6. That simple pattern resets your entire nervous system. It tells your body, we're okay. We can think clearly now. The dopamine effect. Now let's talk about the reward side of calm, the good chemicals. When you stay composed under pressure, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine gives you motivation and confidence. Serotonin creates a sense of safety and contentment. In one 2020 Harvard study, participants who practiced 10 minutes of calm reflection daily saw a 27% rise in serotonin levels after 3 weeks. That's why calm people seem magnetic. Their chemistry draws others in. They radiate stability. You can feel it, that peaceful energy in someone's presence that says, nothing can shake me.
Calm is contagious. Science proves that emotions spread. Through a process called emotional contagion, your mood can actually synchronize with those around you. A Yale University experiment showed that one calm person in a chaotic meeting could reduce the group's collective stress by over 30%, just by maintaining steady tone and breathing. That means your calm is never wasted. Every time you regulate yourself, you become a stabilizing force for others. You change the emotional weather in the room, quietly, invisibly, powerfully. And maybe that's what leadership really is, being the one who stays centered when everyone else spins.
From reaction to regulation. Think of emotional regulation like tuning a guitar. If the strings are too tight, they snap. That's overreaction. If they're too loose, there's no sound. That's suppression. Calmness is the perfect tension. Balanced, alive, and responsive. A 2021 neuroscience study from Oxford University found that people who practiced emotional awareness exercises for 15 minutes a day improved their self-regulation scores by 40% after 1 month. In other words, staying calm is not about numbing yourself. It's about tuning yourself, knowing when to breathe, when to speak, and when to let go. A real-life story, the doctor's calm. In 2020, during the height of the pandemic, a young doctor in Italy described one of her hardest nights. The hospital was full.
Alarms were blaring. Fear was everywhere. She said she could feel panic trying to take over, her heart racing, hands trembling. Then she stopped. She placed one hand on her chest and whispered to herself, "Breathe." That single breath gave her enough clarity to focus, to treat one patient, then another, and another. Later she said, "Calmness isn't what I felt. It's what I created, breath by breath." That's emotional mastery, not the absence of fear, but the ability to rise above it.
Simple practices to activate calm. Let's make this real for you. Here are a few ways to train your biology for calm. 1. The 3-minute reset. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, step away for 3 minutes. Inhale deeply through your nose. Exhale slowly. Feel your shoulders drop. You've just rebalanced your nervous system. 2. The gratitude shift. Studies show gratitude increases dopamine activity by up to 15%. So when you feel tension rising, pause and list 3 things you're thankful for, out loud. Gratitude literally changes your body chemistry. 3. The grounding touch. Place your hand over your heart. Feel it beat. Remind yourself, "I'm safe right now." This physical gesture triggers calm hormones like oxytocin. Practice these daily, and you'll notice something beautiful. Calm becomes your default setting.
The biological advantage of calm. When you master calm, your entire biology aligns toward strength. Your heart becomes more efficient, your brain processes faster, your immune system grows stronger. Harvard researchers found that people who practiced stress reduction techniques for 8 weeks had lower blood pressure, improved sleep, and better immune markers. You're not just thinking differently, you're becoming different. Every pause, every breath, every calm choice is rewriting your DNA's expression toward health and resilience. That's not spirituality, that's science.
Reflection. Feel the calm. Let's pause for a short reflection. Close your eyes if you can. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold for a moment. Now release slowly through your mouth. Feel your body soften. Notice how even your thoughts slow down to match your breath. This is your natural state, the calm underneath the noise. You don't need to find peace. You just need to stop disturbing it. Breathe again. Feel your heartbeat steady. In this calm, your mind becomes clear, creative, alive. This, right here, is the biology of calm.
Closing message. Calm isn't a miracle. It's your design. It's the wisdom of your body waiting for you to listen. When you breathe deeply, pause often, and let your body rest, you're not escaping life. You're aligning with it. Your biology doesn't want you to rush. It wants you to return, to balance, to stillness, to the calm that was always yours.
Chapter 4. Emotional Triggers and the Stories We Tell. We all have that moment. Someone says something, and before we can even think, we snap. A word, a tone, a glance, and suddenly we're in a storm of emotion. It's not just what happened, it's what it meant to us. Because behind every reaction lies a story, often an old one we didn't realize we were still telling. Let's dive into this truth. You can't control your emotions until you understand your triggers. And you can't understand your triggers until you uncover the story behind them.
What is an emotional trigger? An emotional trigger is like a button hidden inside you. Something that, when pressed, releases a powerful emotional response. Sometimes it's anger. Sometimes it's shame. Sometimes it's fear disguised as irritation. Psychologists describe triggers as stored emotional memories, experiences your brain tags as threats because they once caused you pain or rejection. That's why small things can feel so big. When your partner raises their voice, your brain might not hear them. It hears a parent who once shouted at you. When a coworker ignores your idea, you might not just feel unheard, you relive every moment you felt invisible. Reactions are echoes of our past.
The brain's shortcut, why we react first and think later. Your brain loves shortcuts. When it senses danger, emotional or physical, it sends the message straight to the amygdala, the part responsible for fight, flight, or freeze. The amygdala can trigger a reaction 6 seconds before the rational brain even processes what's happening. That means by the time you realize you're angry, your brain has already fired the signal. You've already raised your voice, rolled your eyes, or slammed the door. This is why not reacting feels so hard. It's not just mental discipline, it's biological momentum. But here's the secret. You can't stop the emotion from showing up. You can only stop yourself from acting it out.
The story beneath the reaction. Let's imagine this. You're waiting for a friend. You've made plans. You're excited. But they're late. 10 minutes, 20, an hour. You feel that heat rise inside, frustration, disappointment, maybe even resentment. Now, pause and ask yourself, what story am I telling right now? Is it, they don't respect me? Is it, I'm not important? Or maybe, people always let me down? Because the truth is, your friend being late is a fact. But they don't care about me is a story. The more aware you become of your stories, the freer you become from your triggers. You stop living in automatic reaction. You start choosing your reality consciously. The trigger triangle: event, emotion, story. Every reaction follows a simple pattern I call the trigger triangle. 1. Event, something happens. 2. Emotion, you feel something. 3. Story, you explain it to yourself. For example, your boss criticizes your report. Emotion, you feel embarrassed or angry. Story, they think I'm not good enough. But here's the truth. The emotion is real. The story might not be. Studies in cognitive psychology show that over 70% of emotional distress comes not from events themselves, but from the meanings we attach to them. That means your peace doesn't depend on changing people, it depends on changing your interpretation. The trigger triangle: event, emotion, story. Every reaction follows a simple pattern I call the trigger triangle. 1. Event, something happens. 2. Emotion, you feel something. 3. Story,
you explain it to yourself. For example, your boss criticizes your report. Emotion, you feel embarrassed or angry. Story, they think I'm not good enough. But here's the truth. The emotion is real. The story might not be. Studies in cognitive psychology show that over 70% of emotional distress comes not from events themselves, but from the meanings we attach to them. That means your peace doesn't depend on changing people, it depends on changing your interpretation.
How to deactivate a trigger in real time. Okay, let's make this real. Here's how to deal with a trigger as it's happening without losing your calm. Step 1. Pause. Before reacting, take one conscious breath. That pause shifts control from your amygdala to your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that thinks. Step 2. Name it. Say quietly to yourself, I feel angry, or I feel ignored. Research from UCLA shows that simply naming your emotion can reduce its intensity by up to 40%. Step 3. Separate the fact from the story. Ask, what actually happened versus what am I telling myself about what happened? You'll be amazed how often your story is louder than the truth. Step 4. Reframe it. Instead of, they disrespected me, try, maybe they're having a bad day. This doesn't define me. Reframing isn't denial, it's emotional freedom. A real-life story. The teacher who stayed still. There's a story of a teacher in New York who worked in one of the city's most chaotic schools. Every day, students yelled, threw things, tested her patience. But she never reacted. One day, a student shouted, "Why don't you ever get mad?" She smiled and said, "Because your words don't decide who I am. I do." Years later, many of her students said that was the moment they began to trust her. Her calm became their safety. She wasn't cold, she was anchored. She had rewritten her story from, they're disrespecting me, to, they're testing my steadiness. When you own your story, you own your peace. How childhood scripts shape adult reactions. Most of our triggers are born in childhood. We learn early what it feels like to be unseen, scolded, or rejected, and we spend adulthood avoiding those same feelings. If you grew up being told to stay quiet, confrontation might feel terrifying. If you were often blamed, criticism might trigger shame instead of curiosity. And if love was conditional, you might chase approval instead of peace. Neuroscience research shows that emotional patterns formed before age 7 can persist for decades, unless consciously reprogrammed. So when you get triggered, don't judge yourself. You're not weak, you're revisiting an old wound that needs understanding, not punishment. Compassion is how you rewrite the script.
The power of self-inquiry. Next time you feel triggered, ask yourself these 3 questions. What exactly am I feeling right now? What story am I telling myself about this feeling? And is that story absolutely true? These questions pull you out of automatic reaction and into awareness. You begin to see that emotions are signals, not commands. They're messengers saying something inside needs your attention.
The moment you choose the story. Every moment of irritation, every spark of anger, every pang of hurt is a doorway. You can walk through that doorway with reaction, or with reflection. The first path gives you temporary satisfaction. You explode, you win the moment, but lose your peace. The second path gives you mastery. You pause, you see the story, and you rewrite it. That's emotional power. Not suppressing your feelings, but steering them toward wisdom.
Let's practice a short reflection exercise together. Think of a moment this week when you overreacted, big or small. Now replay it in your mind. What was the event? What emotion came up? What story did you tell yourself? Now imagine a different story, one rooted in understanding, not fear. How would that have changed your reaction? That's the power you have, right here, right now. You can rewrite the narrative anytime.
Closing message. Every trigger is an invitation, not to fight, but to understand. Not to judge, but to awaken. The moment you stop reacting, you start rewriting. And when you rewrite your story, you rewrite your life. So the next time something or someone presses your buttons, don't explode, explore. Chapter 5. The Pause. Your superpower in chaos. The world moves fast. Messages fly in, opinions clash, demands pile up, and before you even realize it, your mind is racing, your heart's pounding, and your peace feels out of reach. But in the middle of all that noise, there's a space, a hidden stillness between stimulus and response. It's called the pause. It might last only 2 seconds, but in those 2 seconds, you can change everything. Your words, your emotions, your future. Today, let's explore the pause, that invisible power that separates the reactive from the wise, the impulsive from the centered, the overwhelmed from the in control.
The science behind the pause. In 1949, a psychologist named Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote something extraordinary. He said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Modern neuroscience backs this up. When something triggers you, your brain's amygdala fires instantly, the emotional alarm system. But if you pause, even for 3 seconds, your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, re-engages. That's right, 3 seconds can literally shift control from reaction to reason.
Why don't we pause more often? Because the modern world rewards speed, not stillness. We're taught to clap back, respond fast, make a move. Silence, in our culture, often looks like weakness. But silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom preparing its voice. The truth is, reacting quickly makes us feel powerful in the moment. But acting wisely makes us powerful in the long run.
The magic of the micropause. Here's something simple but life-changing. The micropause. It's just 2 or 3 seconds before you respond. A deliberate breath, a conscious silence. In emotional intelligence studies at Yale University, people who practiced pausing before replying showed lower stress levels and better decision-making under pressure. That tiny breath acts like a mental buffer. It gives your brain a chance to say, wait, do I really want to say this? Do I really want to carry this emotion forward? That's not hesitation. That's mastery.
The magic of the micropause. Here's something simple, but life-changing. The micropause. It's just 2 or 3 seconds before you respond. A deliberate breath,
a conscious silence. In emotional intelligence studies at Yale University, people who practiced pausing before replying showed lower stress levels and better decision-making under pressure. That tiny breath acts like a mental buffer. It gives your brain a chance to say, wait, do I really want to say this? Do I really want to carry this emotion forward? That's not hesitation. That's mastery.
There's a story about a man named Daniel who worked at a large tech company. One day, after months of stress, his manager criticized him in front of his team. His first impulse? To fire back, to defend himself, to lash out. But in that instant, he remembered his mindfulness coach's words, "When in doubt, breathe before you break." So Daniel took a slow breath, just one. He didn't speak, he didn't argue. He paused and waited 5 seconds before replying.
In that space, something incredible happened. His anger cooled, his voice softened, and he said, "I understand your concern. Can we talk about how to fix it together?" Later, his manager apologized, and that single pause, those 5 seconds, transformed what could have been a career-damaging conflict into a moment of mutual respect. That's the power of pause. It turns reaction into reflection, and reflection into resolution.
Pause is the language of leaders. Watch any great leader, from Nelson Mandela to Jacinda Ardern, and you'll notice something. They pause before they speak. It's not hesitation, it's discipline. That brief silence before their words isn't emptiness, it's gravity. Communication researchers call this the power pause. Audiences perceive speakers who pause before answering as more confident, thoughtful, and trustworthy. When you pause, people feel your presence. They sense your depth, because silence commands attention in a world addicted to noise.
Training your mind to pause. Let's make it real. You can train the pause the same way you train a muscle. Here are 3 powerful techniques. 1. The 3-breath rule. Before answering a message, speaking in anger, or making a decision, take 3 conscious breaths. It resets your emotional brain and gives your logic a fighting chance. 2. The slow sip. When stress hits, take a sip of water, slowly. That small ritual grounds your body and buys you a moment of mental space. 3. The question pause. Instead of reacting to a difficult comment, respond with a question like, "What makes you feel that way?" Or, "Can you explain what you mean?" Questions disarm tension. They turn emotional heat into understanding. Harvard studies show that asking clarifying questions during conflict can reduce emotional escalation by 60%. The pause isn't about being quiet. It's about creating a bridge between reaction and wisdom.
The inner pause isn't only for your mouth, it's also for your mind. Our thoughts often race 24/7. Regrets from yesterday, worries about tomorrow. But you can insert a pause between thoughts too. Close your eyes. Listen to the silence between your thoughts. That still space, that's awareness. Untouched, unreactive, eternal. Meditators call it the gap. It's the calm behind the noise, the calm that watches your chaos. Brain imaging from Stanford University shows that meditation, essentially the practice of pausing, strengthens neural connections between the emotional and rational centers of the brain. When you master the inner pause, life stops feeling like a storm and starts feeling like a dance.
A real-life example. The surgeon's pause.
Dr. Aisha Malik once shared a practice she calls the golden pause. Before every surgery, no matter how urgent, she closes her eyes for 5 seconds. 5 seconds of stillness before touching a human heart. She says, "In that silence, I remember that my hands serve life. The pause isn't for me, it's for the patient." Those few seconds of calm make her precise, present, and patient. Her team follows her energy, steady, focused, grounded. The pause isn't just personal, it's contagious.
Reflection exercise. Let's practice together. Close your eyes for a moment. Think of a recent time when you reacted too quickly, said something, did something, or texted something you later wished you hadn't. Now, imagine that moment again, but this time you pause, you breathe, you wait 3 seconds, you choose your response.
Can you feel the difference? That's your peace re-entering the room. The pause is your superpower, hidden in plain sight. You can use it anywhere, in traffic, in conversation, in heartbreak, in success. You don't need to fix every storm. You just need to stop feeding it.
Closing message. The pause is where wisdom is born. It's the meeting place between chaos and clarity. So the next time your heart races, your words burn on your tongue, or your mind floods with anger, remember this: you are not your reaction. You are the one who chooses how to respond.
That single breath, that brief silence, that's not hesitation. That's evolution. The pause doesn't make you slow. It makes you powerful.
Chapter 6. The Pause. Mastering the space between stimulus and response. There's a quote often attributed to Viktor Frankl, a man who survived the unimaginable horrors of the Holocaust. He said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom." That space he spoke of, that tiny pause, is one of the most powerful tools you will ever possess. It's invisible, silent, and short-lived, yet within that pause lies the difference between peace and regret, wisdom and reaction, strength and weakness.
The pause is not just a mental technique, it's a physiological reset. When we pause, we're interrupting the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain, and allowing the prefrontal cortex, the seat of logic and judgment, to re-engage. In simple terms, the pause helps your brain come back online. Scientists have shown that when you pause and take one deep, conscious breath, you lower your heart rate and reduce cortisol, the stress hormone, in your bloodstream. You give yourself the gift of clarity.
Let's take an example from real life. A CEO named Michael found himself constantly frustrated at work. Whenever an employee made a mistake, he reacted harshly. Over time, his team began to fear him, not respect him. Productivity dropped, morale collapsed. After attending an emotional intelligence seminar, he started practicing what the instructor called the 3-second rule. Before replying to any criticism or mistake, he took a slow 3-second breath. At first, it felt awkward, unnatural, but within weeks he noticed something. Those 3 seconds transformed everything. He became calmer, his team began opening up, and solutions replaced arguments. Michael didn't change who he was, he changed how long he waited.
The pause can be your superpower too. When anger strikes, pause. When someone insults you, pause. When life feels overwhelming, pause. Because reacting is easy, but responding, that's where growth lives. Let's walk through a short mental exercise together. Close your eyes, or if you're driving, just focus gently on your breathing. Imagine you're in a heated conversation. You feel the tension rise in your chest, your heartbeat quickens, your jaw tightens. Now, in that exact moment, take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. Hold it for 2 seconds, and exhale through your mouth, releasing the pressure. Notice how even now your body softens. That's your nervous system recalibrating. That's your biology responding to calm. Every pause is a signal to your body that you are safe. And when you feel safe, you make wiser choices.
There's a beautiful lesson from martial arts here. In Aikido, a Japanese martial art, the goal isn't to fight your opponent, but to redirect their energy. Instead of resisting, the master flows with the force and transforms it into balance. The pause works the same way. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending you're unaffected. It's about redirecting your energy into something higher, understanding, strength, grace. You're not fighting your anger, you're mastering it.
Let's get practical. How can you apply this in everyday life? 1. Before you speak, breathe. Create a simple ritual. 1 deep breath before replying to anything emotionally charged. 2. Name your emotion. Say quietly in your mind, I am feeling angry. I am feeling hurt. Naming your feeling separates you from it. 3. Ask 1 grounding question. Will what I say next bring peace or regret? If it's peace, proceed. If it's regret, pause longer. Here's something to remember. A pause is not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's control. A tiger that sits silently before it pounces is not weak, it's focused. The same is true for you. The pause is your power to choose your next move consciously, rather than letting life push you like a leaf in the wind. And that conscious choice, repeated over time, builds emotional mastery.
Remember, your emotions are not your enemy. They are signals. But if you let every signal control you, you become reactive and lose your peace. By mastering the pause, you become like the ocean. Waves may rise, storms may come, but the depths remain calm. That calmness is not indifference, it's inner authority. It's knowing that no matter what happens around you, you decide what happens within you.
So next time you feel your emotions climbing, remember Viktor Frankl's words. Between what happens and what you do, there's a space. In that space is your freedom. In that space is your peace. In that space is your power. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to transform that pause into deeper emotional awareness, turning every challenge into a lesson of strength and serenity.
Chapter 7. Transforming emotions into strength. Every emotion you feel, anger, sadness, fear, even frustration, carries a message. But here's the truth most people never realize. Your emotions are not obstacles. They are energy. And energy, when understood and directed,
becomes strength. Think about fire. Uncontrolled, it destroys everything in its path. But guided through a furnace, it forges steel. The same is true for your emotions. You can let them consume you, or you can let them build you.
Let's start by understanding what emotions really are. Scientifically, emotions are biochemical responses to your thoughts and environment. When you perceive something as a threat, your body releases adrenaline and cortisol, preparing you to fight or flee. When you experience joy, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, the feel-good chemicals. But emotions don't have moral value. They aren't good or bad, they simply are. What matters is how you interpret and use them. Anger can destroy, or it can motivate. Fear can paralyze, or it can protect. Sadness can drown you, or it can deepen your empathy. The difference lies in whether you react to emotion or transform it.
Let's take an example. Years ago, a young woman named Maria worked in a high-stress sales job. Her boss constantly criticized her, sometimes unfairly. Each time, she'd go home angry, replaying the words in her mind. One night, after a particularly harsh comment, she broke down. But instead of reacting, she asked herself, "What is this emotion trying to teach me?" The answer came slowly. I crave validation from others because I doubt my own worth. That realization changed her life. She stopped trying to prove herself to her boss and began proving herself for herself. Within months, she became one of the top performers in her department, not because she was fueled by anger, but because she had transformed it into focus and confidence.
When you feel an emotion, don't push it away. Instead, ask 3 simple questions. What am I feeling right now? Why is this emotion here? And how can I use it for something positive? These 3 questions are your alchemy, the ancient art of turning emotion into wisdom.
Let's break this down with a few examples. Anger often signals a boundary has been crossed. Instead of exploding, use that anger to clarify your values. Ask, what does this situation show me about what matters most to me? Sadness is a sign of loss or disconnection. Let it teach you empathy and gratitude for what once was. From sadness, art, poetry, and compassion are born. Fear is a message from your subconscious saying, pay attention. It's not always an enemy. Sometimes it's a teacher preparing you to grow. Transformation begins when you allow emotions to move through you, not control you. Here's a small exercise you can practice right now. Take a moment to think of a situation that recently upset you. Feel the emotion rise in your body, the tension, the heat, the discomfort. Don't fight it. Now, breathe deeply and say to yourself, this is just energy. I can direct it. With every exhale, imagine yourself channeling that energy into action, not reaction, into purpose, not pain. This shift from suppression to transformation is how emotional maturity grows. The greatest leaders, artists, and thinkers throughout history have all mastered this. Nelson Mandela turned years of imprisonment, something that could have filled anyone with rage, into compassion and unity. Martin Luther King Jr. turned the pain of oppression into a movement of love and justice. Malala Yousafzai turned her trauma into a global voice for education and peace. They didn't deny their emotions, they redirected them. In your own life, you don't have to face historic challenges to apply this. The next time you feel frustration at work, use it to improve your focus. When you feel envy, let it show you what you truly desire and inspire you to take action toward it. Every emotion is a guidepost leading you toward greater self-awareness.
Here's a simple daily ritual you can start tonight, something I call emotional transmutation. Step 1. Reflect. At the end of your day, write down one emotion you felt strongly, good or bad. Step 2. Identify. Ask what triggered it. Was it a person, a thought, or an expectation? Step 3. Transform. Ask, what's the positive use of this energy? Maybe frustration can fuel better discipline. Maybe sadness can open your heart to others. By practicing this, you train your brain to reinterpret emotions, not as threats, but as teachers.
The truth is, emotions will always visit you. You can't stop them, and you shouldn't want to. Life without emotion would be colorless, flat, and lifeless. But when you stop letting emotions drive, and instead let them guide, you step into emotional mastery. You begin to live with what the Stoics called apatheia, not indifference, but freedom from being controlled by passion. You still feel deeply, you just no longer drown in it.
So next time emotion rises, remember, it's not here to punish you, it's here to empower you. Let anger sharpen your boundaries. Let sadness deepen your understanding. Let fear awaken your courage. And most importantly, let love, compassion, and gratitude become your default emotional state, because these are the most transformative energies of all. Emotional transformation isn't about perfection. It's about awareness and choice. When you learn to harness the fire within, you stop being a victim of your emotions and start becoming the artist of your inner world. Every feeling becomes a color. Every moment becomes a canvas, and your life becomes a masterpiece of calm, courage, and emotional power. In the next chapter, we'll take this even further, learning how to protect your emotional energy from the world around you and how to stay calm even when everything around you feels chaotic.
Chapter 8. Protecting your energy in a chaotic world. The world today is louder than ever. Notifications, opinions, arguments, headlines, all demanding your attention. Everywhere you turn, something or someone is trying to pull you into reaction. And if you're not careful, the noise of the world becomes the noise in your mind. Protecting your energy isn't about avoiding people or hiding from life. It's about creating an inner shield, a calm, unshakable center that allows you to engage with the world without absorbing its chaos.
Imagine you're standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain pours, lightning flashes, but in your hands you hold an umbrella, strong and steady. The storm doesn't stop, but it no longer controls you. That's what protecting your emotional energy feels like. You don't escape the world, you move through it with calm awareness.
Let's start with this simple truth. Energy is contagious. You've probably noticed how spending time with certain people leaves you feeling drained, while others lift your spirits just by being near them. That's because we're emotional mirrors. We unconsciously absorb the moods, attitudes, and stress of those around us. Psychologists call this emotional contagion. So if you're constantly surrounded by negativity, complaints, or chaos, you might start reflecting that energy without even realizing it. That's why emotional protection
begins with awareness.
Ask yourself, who in my life leaves me feeling lighter? And who leaves me feeling heavy? What environments calm me? And which ones drain me? Be honest, because protecting your peace sometimes means adjusting your environment. That doesn't mean cutting people off or running away. It means creating emotional boundaries, invisible lines that remind you where you end and the world begins.
Here's something to remember. Being calm in chaos doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you choose what enters your inner world. You can't control the storm, but you can control your umbrella. Here are a few practical ways to protect your emotional energy every day. 1. Start your day with silence. Before reaching for your phone or checking messages, take 5 minutes to breathe, stretch, or simply sit in stillness. The first energy you feel each morning should be yours, not the world's. 2. Set digital boundaries. Unfollow accounts that trigger stress or comparison. Limit doom scrolling. Be intentional with what you consume, because information is also energy. 3. Use grounding rituals. Throughout the day, pause and ground yourself. Feel your feet on the floor, your breath in your chest. This brings you back from the noise into the present moment. 4. Protect your emotional bank account. Think of your energy like money. Every interaction is either a deposit or a withdrawal. Spend it wisely. 5. End your day with release. Before sleep, mentally release the emotions you've absorbed. A simple affirmation works wonders. I let go of what's not mine to carry.
Let me share another story, this time about Daniel, a father of 2 who worked as a public school teacher. He loved his students, but their struggles often broke his heart. He'd come home frustrated, worried, and emotionally spent. One evening, his daughter asked him, "Daddy, why do you always look so tired?" That question hit him hard. Daniel realized he'd been giving his best energy to his stress, not his family. From that day on, he made a conscious shift. When leaving school, he sat in his car for 2 minutes, took deep breaths, and mentally imagined closing the door on the day. He didn't bring the classroom home anymore. That simple act, creating a transition ritual, became his emotional boundary. His evenings grew lighter. His laughter returned. His energy became his own again.
Sometimes the world will test your peace. People will push your buttons. Circumstances will shake your plans. In those moments, remember this. You are not obligated to absorb everything you experience. You can witness without carrying. You can care without collapsing. You can love without losing yourself. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's essential. Because the calmer and more centered you are, the more love, compassion, and clarity you can offer to others.
Sometimes the world will test your peace. People will push your buttons. Circumstances will shake your plans. In those moments, remember this. You are not obligated to absorb everything you experience. You can witness without carrying. You can care without collapsing. You can love without losing yourself. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's essential. Because the calmer and more centered you are, the more love, compassion, and clarity you can offer to others.
Even the most enlightened teachers, the Dalai Lama, Thich Nhat Hanh, or modern mindfulness leaders all speak of mental hygiene. Just as you wash your hands daily to prevent disease, you must also cleanse your mind of emotional residue. Take time to reset. Meditate, journal, pray, walk in nature, sit in silence. These aren't luxuries, they are necessities for a balanced mind.
Protecting your energy means understanding that peace is not something you find, it's something you build daily. It's a muscle that grows stronger every time you say, "This chaos is not mine to hold." When you learn to guard your energy, you start to radiate something powerful, calm confidence. You stop being tossed by every emotion or opinion, and the world begins to respond differently to you. People sense your stillness, they feel your strength, they respect your silence.
So protect your energy like it's your most precious resource, because it is. Don't waste it on drama, don't spend it on things that steal your peace. Spend it on growth, kindness, and the quiet work of becoming who you were meant to be. Because when you protect your inner world, no outer chaos can shake it.
In the next chapter, we'll explore how to build true emotional resilience, the art of staying steady through life's storms, no matter how fierce they become. Chapter 9: Building Emotional Resilience. Life will test you, not once, not twice, but over and over. You'll face loss, disappointment, rejection, and uncertainty. And yet, some people seem to rise stronger after every setback. They bend, but they don't break. They stumble, but they never stay down for long. What's their secret? It's not luck. It's not that life is easier for them. It's resilience, the quiet power to endure, adapt, and grow stronger through every challenge.
Resilience doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you recover faster. It means that even when the storm knocks you down, you find your footing again because you trust that you can handle whatever comes your way. But here's the truth. Emotional resilience isn't something you're born with. It's a skill, one that can be built, trained, and strengthened just like a muscle.
Let's start with what resilience really is. Psychologists define resilience as the ability to bounce back from adversity. But I want you to think of it differently, not as bouncing back, but as bouncing forward. Because every challenge changes you. The goal isn't to return to who you were before, it's to become stronger, wiser, and more grounded than you were. There's a story of two friends, both laid off from their jobs on the same day. The first friend, John, felt crushed. He blamed the company, the economy, even himself. For weeks, he stayed home paralyzed by fear and anger. The second, Sarah, cried too. She felt lost. But after a few days, she made a decision. I can't control what happened, but I can control what I do next. She updated her resume, learned new skills, and reached out to people in her field. Within 3 months, she found a better position, one that matched her values. Same event, two reactions. The difference? One stayed in the story of loss. The other stepped into the story of growth. That's resilience. Resilience begins with acceptance. Accept what is, without denying it. Pain is real, but suffering comes when we resist reality. When you say, "This shouldn't have happened," you stay stuck in what was. But when you say, "This did happen,
and I will learn from it. You open a door to healing.
Let's break down the pillars of emotional resilience, practical habits you can build starting today. 1. Self-awareness. Know your emotional triggers. When you recognize what overwhelms you, you can prepare your mind before the storm hits. 2. Perspective. Learn to zoom out. Ask yourself, will this matter in a year? In 5 years? Most storms feel smaller when viewed from a higher place. 3. Adaptability. Life won't always go as planned. The more flexible your mindset, the easier it is to pivot and keep moving forward. 4. Self-compassion. Treat yourself like you would treat a friend in pain. Resilient people don't demand perfection. They practice kindness toward themselves. 5. Support. You're not meant to do life alone. Community, friendship, and connection are the roots that keep you grounded during strong winds.
Let me tell you about Aisha, a young woman who lost her small business during the pandemic. It was her dream, years of effort, done in months. She felt like a failure. But instead of quitting, she asked herself one question: what can this teach me? She realized she had been relying on one source of income and one customer base. So she reinvented her business online, learned digital marketing, and built something new, something stronger. 2 years later, her new brand was more successful than her first. Her secret wasn't that she never fell. It was that every fall became a foundation.
Here's a practical tool to help you build your own resilience, something psychologists call cognitive reframing. When you face a setback, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask instead, "What is this preparing me for?" This small change in language transforms you from victim to student, and every experience becomes an opportunity for growth. Resilience also requires emotional endurance, the willingness to stay with discomfort without running from it. Think of it like emotional weight training. Every time you face fear and choose not to avoid it, your emotional muscle gets stronger. Every time you face disappointment and still move forward, your capacity expands. You can't control life's weight, but you can control your strength.
Sometimes resilience means letting go. Letting go of control. Letting go of what you thought life should look like. Letting go of people, expectations, and timelines that no longer serve your peace. Because resilience isn't about holding on tightly. It's about trusting that even if everything falls apart, you'll be okay.
Let's do a brief reflection exercise. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and think of a past challenge, something that once felt impossible. Now ask yourself, did I survive it? Did I learn something from it? You did. You're still here. Stronger, wiser, and more prepared than before. That's proof of your resilience. Every scar you carry is not a symbol of weakness. It's a medal of survival. It means I fell, but I got back up. Remember, life doesn't reward those who never fall. It rewards those who rise again and again. Every storm you endure makes you more capable of handling the next one. Every tear you've shed has watered the roots of your strength. Every ending you've faced has been the beginning of something new.
Building emotional resilience is about rewriting your story from "life happens to me"
to life happens for me. And when you embrace that mindset, even the hardest days can become teachers. Because pain builds perspective, failure builds humility, and every challenge builds character.
So, the next time you fall, don't ask if you'll rise. Ask how you'll rise. With grace, with courage, and with the quiet confidence that no matter what comes, you have what it takes to keep moving forward.
In our final chapter, we'll bring everything together, exploring how to live a life of emotional mastery where calmness becomes your natural state and peace becomes your greatest power. Chapter 10: Living with Emotional Mastery. We've come a long way, from understanding how emotions work to learning how to pause, breathe, and take back control. From breaking old reactions to building emotional resilience that turns chaos into calm. Now it's time for the final step: living with emotional mastery. Because this journey isn't just about learning how not to react, it's about creating a life where calmness, focus, and emotional balance become your default state, where you don't just survive the storms, you sail through them.
Think of emotional mastery as a quiet power, a kind of inner stillness that doesn't depend on external peace. It's like being the eye of the hurricane. The world may spin wildly around you, yet inside you remain centered. You don't get pulled into every drama, every insult, or every unexpected event. Instead, you respond from a place of strength and awareness. That's emotional mastery.
Here's what most people misunderstand. Mastery doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean you never feel anger, fear, or sadness again. It means you understand those emotions and you no longer let them control your story. You might feel anger rise within you, but you don't explode. You might feel fear whispering, but you don't run. You might feel sadness, but you don't drown in it. You let the emotion pass through you without letting it define you. Let me share a story, a simple one, but powerful. There was once a Zen master who sat meditating by a river. One of his students ran up to him shouting, "Master, the villagers are speaking terribly about you. They're saying things that aren't true." The master opened his eyes slowly, smiled, and said, "Thank you for the message. Now let the wind carry their words away." The student was puzzled. "But master, aren't you angry?" The old man shook his head. "If someone gives you a gift and you choose not to take it, to whom does it belong?" The student paused. "To the giver, of course." The master smiled again. "Exactly. So why should I carry words that are not mine?"
That's what emotional mastery looks like. Not absence of emotion, but presence of wisdom. It's realizing that peace is not found in the silence of the world, but in the silence within yourself.
Let's talk about the 3 foundations of emotional mastery, principles you can live by every day. First, awareness before reaction. Pause before you respond. That split second of awareness is the difference between reacting and leading. Remember, emotions are messengers, not dictators. Ask, what is this emotion trying to tell me? Not, how can I get rid of it? 2. Purpose over impulse. When you live with purpose, small things no longer shake you.
People's opinions lose power when you're focused on your mission. You stop wasting emotional energy on things that don't align with your goals. 3. Presence in every moment. True calm is not in the past or future. It lives in the now. The present moment is your sanctuary. When your mind starts racing, bring it back. Right here, right now. I'm safe. I'm breathing. I'm okay.
Living with emotional mastery means creating daily rituals that keep your inner state balanced. Here are a few practical ones you can start with. Morning centering. Before you check your phone or face the world, take 5 minutes to breathe and set your intention for the day. Ask, how do I want to feel today? Evening reflection. Before sleep, replay your day. Notice where you stayed calm and where you reacted. Reflect, don't judge. This builds awareness over time. The power of language. Replace reactive language like, you made me angry, with empowered language. I felt angry when. It reminds your mind that you are in control of your feelings. Gratitude practice. Gratitude grounds the heart. Even in chaos, find 3 small things you're thankful for. Gratitude softens tension and widens your emotional horizon. Emotional mastery doesn't mean your life will be easy, but it means you'll handle it with grace. When things go wrong, you won't spiral, you'll center. When people test you, you'll choose peace over pride. When life feels uncertain, you'll anchor yourself in trust. And that is freedom.
Let me ask you something. How would your life change if you stopped reacting to everything around you? Imagine no more snapping at traffic, no more overthinking every message, no more carrying other people's negativity like a burden. Instead, imagine waking up calm, grounded, and in charge of your emotions. You move through your day like still water, deep, steady, and unshakable. That's not fantasy. That's the real reward of this journey.
You've learned how to observe your emotions instead of being ruled by them. You've learned how to pause, breathe, and respond with wisdom. You've learned how to reframe pain into growth and to use resilience as your armor. Now it's time to live it, every single day. You will still have challenges. You will still feel. But now you'll navigate it all with awareness, and that makes you unstoppable.
So as we close this audiobook, remember this truth. Mastery doesn't come from avoiding emotion. It comes from transforming it. Turn anger into clarity. Turn fear into courage. Turn sadness into compassion. Because the power of not reacting isn't about being numb, it's about being alive with intention. You are no longer a prisoner of emotions. You are their master. And when you live this way, calmly, consciously, compassionately, your presence changes everything around you. Your peace becomes contagious. Your calm becomes strength for others. And your life becomes proof that true power has nothing to do with control and everything to do with inner freedom. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the power of not reacting. May your days be filled with stillness, your heart be guided by wisdom, and your life be lived with peace, grace, and calm power. In summary,
You've reached the end of this journey, but in truth, it's only the beginning. Through these 10 chapters, you've learned how to understand your emotional brain, how to pause before reacting, how to shift perspective, and how to transform stress into growth. You've practiced awareness, built resilience, and discovered that calm isn't weakness, it's wisdom.
Remember, life will always bring challenges. You can't control every storm, but you can control how you sail through it. You can choose stillness over panic, grace over anger, presence over impulsiveness, and every time you choose calm, you strengthen your emotional foundation, layer by layer, breath by breath.
The power of not reacting is the power to lead yourself. It's the power to rise above the noise and remain centered when others lose their ground. It's the ability to protect your energy and give the world your best, not your impulses. That's what emotional mastery truly is, the art of responding with wisdom instead of reacting from pain. So, as you move forward, carry this truth in your heart. Peace is not something you find, it's something you build, moment by moment, thought by thought. And with every calm response, you're shaping a more powerful, grounded, and peaceful version of yourself. Thank you for listening to the power of not reacting. May you walk through life with grace in your heart, stillness in your mind, and the unshakable knowing that no matter what happens, you are always in control of your inner world.